Knock, knock, knock. It's for me. It's Jake Guy Checks TV. That's what the man said it's advertised to be.
So how about this for a possible solution to world hunger? Make it so no one has to eat. I mean, one animal's already pulling this off. According to the latest issue of PNAS, the sea slug Elysia chlorotica has one meal of algae soon after it's born, and then it can just photosynthesize for the rest of its life. The way it does it is kind of horror movie-ish, though. It pulls these photosynthesizing structures called chloroplasts out of the algae's cells and then swallows them into its gut, where they just start working for the slug. Kind of like it's sucking the plant's soul or something. But that's not even the extra weird part. The researchers found that in order for the soul sucking to actually work, the slug has to have 90% of the photosynthesizing plant genes in its body already, which means that it's actually kind of a hybrid, like something out of a bad late-night movie. So maybe not the best avenue to explore for the whole hunger problem after all. I mean, not unless people want to look like that.
So here's one of those basic questions that science still hasn't figured out. Why is sleep good for us? Well, maybe the better question is, why is being awake bad? According to some new research, the brain's amazing ability to constantly make zillions of connections between neurons is actually harmful if left unchecked. Researchers from the University of Wisconsin-Madison found that the chemical that strengthens those connections is 40% more abundant when you're awake, which makes the brain act like a hard drive that's constantly being written to. Works great until it starts to get full, at which point even simple things like getting dressed or finding your keys start making your brain do this or this. Sleep, luckily, clears out some of that chemical, so there's not as much strengthening of neurons happening, and it frees up some space so that you can get more in the next morning. Basically, it's nature's way of stopping you from thinking yourself to death. I know, that only happens on PCs, but you get the idea.
So has anyone noticed that following the news out of the International Space Station lately is kind of like watching episodes of The Office? I mean, you've got NASA bragging like Michael Scott about adding Velcro to the astronauts' cubicles and basically just saying ridiculous things in public while acting totally oblivious. And then there was that moment a couple weeks ago where that astronaut was on a spacewalk doing repairs and her grease gun exploded and she dropped her $100,000 tool bag into low Earth orbit. And just to crank up the cringe factor a little more, the lost tool bag has now turned into an international sensation, with amateur astronomers tracking it and posting the clips on YouTube. There it goes. That's embarrassing. At this point, all NASA needs is a shot of Jim doing his little look-to-camera thing at the end, and they could win Emmys for this. And this is why manned spaceflight is important, because robots are not going to give you this kind of material.
The rights to morning, noon, and night. You should come over and check them out sometime.